Our next guest was drafted in 2010 in the second round by the LA Kings. He's played 629 games in the NHL to date. He won a Stanley Cup with the LA Kings. He's currently with the Calgary Flames. We'd like to welcome Tyler Toffoli to the 2 Months Podcast. Tyler, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Good, man. We're good. We can't thank you enough. And as you know, Luch is a great person, so we can't thank him enough for setting this up. He was a
Yeah.
guest with us before, so yeah, just the beauty. So how are things? How was the transition, from Montreal to Calgary now so far?
It's been easy. I mean, like I've kind of said before, it was one of those things where it was almost like the perfect team for me to go to, considering I knew so many of the guys. So coming in, Luce picked me up from the airport and kind of just fit in right away. And even the guys that I didn't know, they've been great, and it's one of the better locker rooms I've honestly been in.
Yeah, it's a pretty good group. It's a great organization. I can speak so highly of Brad Tree Living and Peter Hanlon and the rest of and Murray Edwards. Just great ownership and great culture there. It's quite the place to be. So I'm very happy for you there. It's pretty awesome. Before we get into everything here, I gotta start with a funny story before we get into your career and roll it down. But so as you know, we know Mike Fuda pretty well. He's a great guy, and you know him very well. Probably like a father figure to you too. But so he told me the story this morning about when him and Dean Lombardi came to come scout you in the OHL. So I think you probably know where this is going. But
Yes.
so you're on a heater. You were scoring like he said maybe it was like 30-game goal streak. So maybe you can correct. But
Yeah, it was a point streak in the 30 games. And goal streak had to have been like 15 games or something ridiculous. And then obviously Fuchs and Dean came, and it was probably the worst game I think of my entire junior career. Like even from when I was like a 15-year-old,
yeah.
I think it was like -4, -5, something ridiculous. I
Yeah.
don't even think I had a shot on net.
That's what he was saying. He said it was like it was this one of the worst games you could possibly have. He's like Dean was like kind of looking at him like he had two heads on his shoulders. But how did the conversation go after? Because you guys did you meet up with him after the game and all that? Or?
Yeah, I saw them after the game, and it was one of those things where like they were down the hallway and I was walking towards them, and
Yeah.
I was dreading it, and I was like, I really don't want to go see these guys, because even at the time, like I don't even think I really, like, I had talked to Dean, but not a whole lot. So it was only like Feuds and the development guys that I really talked to or visited me. So when I went and saw him, I can't remember exactly what Dean said, but I think it was basically along the lines was like, if you want to play for me, you're gonna need to figure it out in like that sense. And obviously, I definitely figured it out and whatever. But Feuds loves that story. That's definitely one of the staples that he tells whenever my name comes up
Yeah.
when he's talking about it.
Was that just luck that day, or just feeling the pressure?
I honestly, I don't even. At the time, we're in Mississauga, and they're a really good team, like a really good defensive team as well. I think that was the year that they hosted the Mem Cup too. So our team was really good, but they were just, the way they played was just super frustrating and like an annoying team to play against. So just in general too, I never really played well in Mississauga, so it was just not the game.
Yeah.
It was not the game for me.
Okay. No, and obviously you went on to a great career. But talk about your relationship with Mike. Like how much he meant to you as coming into the NHL, and then obviously growing in the NHL. Like we talk about that road to the NHL, but how much has he meant to you? Because he speaks so highly of you. So what does he mean to you?
Yeah, so I mean, I knew him before even getting drafted when I was in minor hockey and stuff. So we had a good relationship before even turning pro. And once I turned pro, obviously he helped out a lot. He was always around. Obviously, he had his own stuff going on with how much he traveled and all that, but he always kind of kept me in the loop in the sense of how things were going. And even now, obviously we're not in the same organizations, but he was in Calgary, I want to say 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and met up with him for a couple of beers and stuff. And kind of just caught up, and whenever his daughters and parents were in town in LA, I would always go over and hang out with them and all that too. So obviously the families are close. It's a work relationship, but also a friendship as well.
Yeah, you can definitely see he's very proud of you and Simmons and Giordano and even Luch. He always wanted Luch, and then when he got the trade, he was pretty happy too. So we'll transition to Luch before we kind of go into the minor hockey and the road to the NHL. But he's meant a lot for our podcast. We were just this niche little podcast, and he came on and kind of gave us that bump that we needed, and it was kind of awesome, and giving back to guys, that he kind of knows through our game, because our main sponsor is the Shadified Salons Barbershop. And I don't know if he's ever talked about the guys that took the hair in Edmonton, but just talk about your relationship with him. How, obviously it's pretty close. He thinks obviously very highly of you, but your thoughts on Luch.
Yeah, I remember when we traded for him. I was away on vacation with my wife, and we traded for him. And I signed that day too. And basically kind of how it worked was I signed the deal, and the way it wasn't like less money than I should have signed for, but it obviously was a great deal. But they had said, they're like, hey, you're going to sign this deal basically, and we're trading for Luch. And I was like, oh, damn, like, okay.
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then it was emotional because we traded, one of my best friends on the team, and Martin Jones. It was all kind of happening all at the same time. So it was weird. But when I first met him, he came to LA, I want to say a week or two after that. And I first met him. We went out for dinner with him, Tanner Pearson, and some of the management. And we had a good dinner. We had a good night, and honestly kind of just hit it off from there. And I want to say we hung out almost every day that season. And obviously it was only the one season that he was there, and it was my best career statistically, and I just had a lot of fun with him too. And he's one of the best guys I know, and one of the best teammates for sure.
Yeah, no, you can definitely see that, and how much he's meant to you guys in that organization you're with now with the Calgary Flames, and huge part. And Daryl Sutter, we'll get to that, but Jake, take it away. You got some questions there.
Yeah, no, I got a few here, but did he tell you anything about the Battle of Alberta before he came? I got to be honest, I am an Edmonton fan, and it's now that he's playing down there, he's done great things for the program in the 2 months, and obviously a good friend of Josh's. But it's good to see he can bring in players and make it comfortable for you to be there. But did he say anything about that?
Honestly, no, nobody really did. Even going into the game, it was one of those things where it was like kind of like an awkward silence. Like everybody knew.
Yeah.
And so I was excited for the game. Obviously, I know it's much different, but being in LA, playing Anaheim all those years, it was similar. Like I said, it's different, but the way both of our teams were built, it was built the same way, and there's almost like no puck on the ice. So it was a little different, obviously, with the way Edmonton's kind of built now. They're built with a lot of high-end talent and a lot of skills. So I don't think it's the same as what it's used to be. But at the same time, I think we play them another maybe two more times. So I think those games are going to be pretty competitive for sure.
Yeah, you guys got a couple of weeks here. So
yeah.
The one stat I seen there, or information, I was reading something on there. Their first NHL goal was on Mike Smith. So considering Oilers' record for letting in the first goal, we're going to make sure we don't play him the next two games. I don't know how to get the note out to the coach, but say, don't play him. Yeah. Toffoli's got his number. No, what I wanted to touch on, I got a young son, 10 years old. He's playing some hockey out in the Edmonton, Beaumont area, just so tier 2, tier 4 kind of stuff. But I seen you grew up in Ontario, Scarborough. A lot of my family from there. My dad's a huge Toronto Maple Leafs fan. But I asked what was it like kind of growing up big city, GTA, and then, I bugged Josh because he's a huge Toronto fan. I said, is the hype real? Does everybody grow up there want to play with Toronto, or is it just much like other cities where you have your teams you favor regardless?
I think it's definitely everybody wants to play for Toronto, and I think that's why every single year the hype is real for the Leafs, and especially now they have such a good team. The pressure is almost the pressure's high every single year, and it's definitely, it can't be an easy place to play for. And obviously fans are extremely critical if they're not living up to the hype. So growing up for me, yeah, it was definitely my dad for sure wanted me to play for the Leafs, and then obviously when I came in the league, it was he wants me to score 3 goals but lose 4-3 sort of thing, because he wants the Leafs to win. But then obviously as my career kind of went on, I don't say he stopped becoming a fan, but he wanted me to just do well and wanted me to win. So it definitely changed kind of throughout my career. And obviously I think I'm in year 11 or whatever it is. So like I said, the hype is crazy in Toronto, and it definitely can't be an easy place to be playing.
Yeah. With that, I was kind of thinking, you obviously grew up in that, maybe a pressure packed situation, even from your younger years of 12, 13 years old, but really more like, what do you think, whether it's parents or what you would tell kids, like what's the best way to kind of take it, whether it's, you don't have to pay for the best hockey teams, or, maybe some advice for those kids and parents out there. I know last year for me, it was tough, obviously with the COVID, getting the kids re-engaged again, but what would you say to them?
Honestly, for me, I've said it before, it's crazy how I feel like kids growing up, it's so one-dimensional. It's like hockey all day, every day, or any sport in general. It's soccer or baseball, whatever it is. For me, I just enjoyed playing every sport until I think I was like 13 years old, that's when it kind of got to the point where I had to kind of move on and start playing hockey a lot more in the summers and stuff. But for me, for the most part, just try and have as much fun as you can, and play other sports, and don't take something too seriously when you're 10 years old, or especially as a parent. You can't expect your child to be an NHL or a professional when they're 10 years old. Like you don't know what's going to happen. So I think just having fun, and that's kind of how it was for me. I played baseball growing up as well. And honestly, I was probably better at baseball almost than I was at hockey at the time. And my dad asked me one day, he's like, "Hey, look, it's time where, the hockey season and the baseball season's getting in the way with each other for the training camp. And then for baseball, finals or whatever it was called. And the next year I had to choose, and he let me make my own decision. And, obviously it was the right decision for me.
Yeah, I think that's your key point there, is let them make their decision. I think we look at it, and I said it for my kid, was I just wanted to get addicted to something, right? Addicted to one of the sports. I know this year's been great on the ODR for the kids, and getting out and actually getting to play and feel like it, free of COVID. I wouldn't say we're free of it, but still the kids can feel like they can play games again and just keep it fun. That's awesome advice for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you obviously get drafted, you go to the OHL. How was that experience? Going to Ottawa, the 67's a great organization. How special was that day for you, and playing in that organization for the years you did?
Yeah, obviously, getting drafted to Ottawa, I really didn't know where exactly I was going to go. I hadn't talked to them at all, actually. I think they ended up picking me at 7, but I thought I was going 10 to Saginaw, I think it was. It's either Saginaw or Sarnia. They're both kind of right there. And I went to Ottawa, and obviously it wasn't ideal for my mom. She wanted me to be as close to home as possible, but obviously Saginaw, wasn't any closer. So going to Ottawa, it was not necessarily going to be a big decision in the sense of college or the OHL. So I remember when Killer came over, it was definitely surreal, and things started getting pretty intense in the sense of having to move away from home and move into a billet family, and move away 5 hours or whatever it is from Toronto. So it was definitely a nervous time in my life, but it was obviously it was needed, and going to Ottawa is a beautiful city, and it ended up being a great place for me for 4 years.
Yeah. We talk about mentorship at work where we are in construction. Who was a mentor for you in that organization in your years in the O?
Obviously, Killer. He coached me for the 1 year, and he was always around. He's obviously a guy who's been around forever and worked with some great hockey players. So he's definitely a guy that I looked up to. And whenever he had something to say, you definitely listened and tried to work on your game or get better. And obviously things obviously worked out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, for sure. So draft day, was that did you get drafted in LA too? Was
Yes.
yeah, because I think Petro, because we're good friends with Petro too, and I think he got drafted in the second round also. But so how cool was that experience? Finding the family there, and draft day is obviously very, very special and means a lot.
Yeah, obviously it was definitely an experience. Not something that I ever want to do or go through again.
Yeah.
I thought I was going in the first round, and obviously slipped a little bit, but everything happens for a reason. And going to LA, it definitely lit a fire under me, and obviously realizing that I had to start working harder off the ice and be more committed in that sense. So going to LA honestly couldn't have been a better organization.
Yeah.
Especially with Dean there. Dean had a few conversations with me every once in a while to keep me in check, and kind of rounded my game out. And once I finally made the team, playing for Daryl, it was one of those things you have to bring it every single night, or as a young guy, you're not going to be in the lineup, or you're not even going to be in the NHL. You'll be sent down. And it definitely happened to me a couple times, and I've definitely molded my game the right way, I think, and play the right type of hockey. And it's definitely credited to the Kings organization and Dean and Daryl, definitely.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's like that Tom Brady effect where it's like, yeah, you talked about you thought you were going first, you go second, it just motivates you to be a better player going forward.
Yeah.
Where you face that. And obviously you got success very early on in your career. I believe you're in the conference final your first year, and then the second year your first really full year you won the cup. But the taste of success and how much that means more now, because you guys got a great thing going on in Calgary, and we'll get there. But how much did it mean to win a Stanley Cup earlier on and see what it is like? Obviously, you went through where you got some guys like Gabrick on your team that wanted, and later in his career. But how much did it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, I think it started with the lockout year, playing in the minors all year. And the whole time I'm like, why am I not getting called up? And I was just like, I was not like angry, but I was like, I feel like I should be getting called up. And then you look at the guys, who they had on right wing, and it was like Dustin Brown, Justin Williams, Jeff Carter was playing right wing a little bit when he wasn't playing center. And then I realized, I was like, damn, like obviously there's a reason why I can't crack this lineup. And then at the end of the year in the playoffs, a couple of guys got hurt, and I got a chance, I got a sniff. Played well. And then the next year I didn't have a very good training camp, started in the minors again. And that's when I worked hard, and finally, once I got the call to start playing, I think I ended up playing 50 something games. And then obviously in the playoffs, and we had a great team, and we had great leaders. Everybody wanted to win. And obviously very grateful to win in my first year and play with some of those guys. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, no, it's a great organization, as you said. And one of the cool moments is when you won the cup and you're on the phone with your dad. I believe is it Rob is his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get interviewed by Scott Oak. You're on the phone with dad back home. Like, how cool was that moment? Obviously, they weren't there, but like it seemed like watching it. Like I love those, at the end of the year and the ceremonies with family and stuff. But how cool is that, kind of just to connect even over the phone? You guys dad must have been running down the road or whatnot.
Oh yeah, no, it was crazy. It was so loud. I'll never forget. I don't think Staples. I mean, I'm sure in 2012 when the guys won a couple years before that, it was just as loud. But it was so loud in there, you couldn't even hear the person beside you. I couldn't even hear, anything within the whole conversations. And then when the cup got brought out, it was a crazy experience. And it just, honestly, it makes you want to do something like that again. And like you said, we have a really good group of guys here, and that's what the goal is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, doesn't it make it extra special though too? Like you said, going back up and down a few times and just kind of having to look at the lineup and knowing what you have to do to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's, I mean, it's just kind of funny how the league is kind of now, where there's so many young players in the league. They, guys joke around in a funny way, saying that, there's a silver spoon and they don't have to grind it out in the American League anymore. They get drafted, and half the time they don't even play another game in junior. They're in the lineup or in the NHL and living the dream. Yeah. Whereas for a lot of the guys in LA, especially the team that won, a lot of the guys played games in the minors. There's only a few guys, probably like Kopi and Dewey. And then honestly, I feel like other than that, everybody else played at least half a season or so in the American League. And that's just the way it was with the Kings organization.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Jonathan Quick just played his 700th game in the NHL. Pretty great accomplishment. One of the best goaltenders of all time. I hope I'm right on this. Was it this year you guys won? Were you guys down that year 0-3 against San Jose?
Yes. Yes.
So there's that legendary moment where comes down the bench and he's talking to you guys. And obviously, it's sacred and stuff, and you want to maybe keep that in. But that, to me, as a fan, looked like that was a turning point for you guys. You guys went on a hell of a run, obviously, winning the cup. But do you remember that moment? And if you can share, you want to share kind of what was said, but what maybe was said it with you guys, resonated with you guys to, like, let's get going here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he's definitely one of the most competitive guys on the ice and off the ice in general. He hates losing. I think even before he came and said, I don't remember what he said to the bench, but even before that, he went to their bench almost, and he was like calling out their whole team. And I was like, this guy's fucking nuts, right?
Yeah.
And then
just nuts enough. Yeah.
And everybody sees, him talking to us, but I'm pretty sure if it wasn't that game, it was another game in that series where he went, and I don't know what he said to their bench either, but I'm assuming that he was calling out all their guys, saying that he would go them. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure it was the same series. But he's just one of the most genuine human beings, and like I said, one of the most competitive guys as well that I've ever met and played with.
Yeah, you can tell. Like, he's hell of a goalie. Like, Kelly Rudy's been on with us several times, and he's talked about how great of a goaltender Quick is, and he's still trucking along. A huge part of their success right now this year with their goaltending tandem. So talk about some other guys on the team. Obviously, Drew Doughty, he's, in the media side, they always say he's a quote machine, but he's not shy of saying what he wants to say. I always listen to the Toronto shows. Luch has been on TSN Overdrive. I don't know if you guys watch it as players, but seems like anytime Doughty's making that run through Toronto, he's saying what he needs to say. So talk about him as a personality and the player he is too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the media in Toronto, they know what they're doing when they're talking to him. Yeah. But he always says, he's like, confidence is the key, and that's obviously he's an amazing player, but his confidence is definitely through the roof as well, and that's what also makes him a great player and a Hall of Fame player, because he's the same way. He's competitive. He wants to win. And he knows he can do it because realistically, he's done everything you can do in hockey, right? So, or won everything you can do in hockey. So that's just the way he is and the type of personality he is. And he's the same way. He's a great guy on and off the ice. And when I was younger, he took me in and he took me for some dinners and showed me the ropes a little bit. And that's why we're still friends.
Yeah, well, that's good.
I seen a clip the other day, him chirping someone about his handicap. Did you ever play golf with him?
I did.
Is he really a 7?
No, he's definitely lower than that.
I figured he's putting money on it.
Definitely a sandbagger. Last time I played with him, though, he couldn't get off the tee, so he didn't play very well. But He's just, like I said, he's so competitive. It's almost like I didn't even want to golf with him because I mean I think I'm an 8 or I'm an 8 when I'm playing.
Nice.
I've gotten lower, but at the same time, like I'm out there for 4 or 5 hours. I don't want to be like stressing out. I'm going to have a good time and hit some good shots or whatever, right? So, but playing with him and a couple of the other guys like Muzzin and Lewis, they're playing and they're so competitive. They just don't stop chirping each other the whole time. And I'm like,
that's the best.
This isn't fun for me anymore,
it's the best.
guys.
You got to have somebody on your team who chirps and then a good golf. And I'll tell you, if somebody's willing to bet, that's not the guy you want to play.
Well, it's him and Trevor Lewis. It was like the whole time they would not stop chirping the entire time.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, guys, like, thanks for the 4 hours of my life, and you can have my $200 that I lost. Like, I don't care. Like,
I find it's if you're that good, you can't chirp though. You got to play bad too in order to chirp properly.
But that's the thing, like those 3 guys that I mentioned, they're really good golfers, and they always played together. Yeah. So they would need a fourth every once in a while. So it would be like me or Pearson or and then like a couple other guys, obviously. But whenever I'd fill in, it'd just be like I'd come home and I'd be like, I'm exhausted. That was just too long of a day for me.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a huge fan of golf. That's something one of my addictions, other than I guess work and family. What's the best place you played? What's your favorite place to play? Or bucket list, if you have a bucket list one you want to play.
So what I want to do is I want to go do a trip to Bandon Dunes in Oregon.
Yeah, nice.
That's one that I definitely want to do.
Second, I think in North America right now.
It's up there, right? So, but my wife's from Monterey, so I've been up there a couple times. I played Spyglass twice. Obviously, that's a really nice course. Played, obviously, Spoiled. I played LACC and Riv and Bel Air and all those courses in LA. So those courses are definitely hard to beat.
Got to get in on a Celebrity Classic there. Where's that at? Tahoe?
Is that the one in Tahoe? Yeah. That's the same. There's too many people there. I don't want to be standing on the tee and hit a nice little duck hook and take a fan out,
Yeah, exactly.
Not that I out of nowhere I started hitting this draw, and I'm like, normally I'm a fade or a slice or whatever, and I started hitting this draw. I'm like, oh boy, you're going both ways off the tee here. You're not going to be hitting a very good round.
Yeah.
So
golf gets challenging.
I know exactly. It is for sure. As you know, I suck at it, Jake. So.
Hey, you're learning, man.
Yeah. So go back to the NHL here. So the first time you get traded, a lot of guys' times it's shocking. I was watching an interview of you not too long ago, and you kind of seemed like it was on its way of happening, but leaving such a great organization, but also continuing your career, going on a run and playing Canadian markets now, how much of a challenge has that been, and how awesome has it been too?
Yeah, no, it was definitely weird. It was I'll never forget. I was obviously I was in the rumors for almost like a year and a half, 2 years of getting traded. So I knew I was going to be a free agent, and it was just one of those things where you knew it was going to happen. And so in that sense, I was prepared for it. But I think I ended up getting traded like a month before the deadline or 3 weeks before the deadline. Yeah. So it was kind of weird at the time. And we had a one game trip to Winnipeg, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pack my toiletry kit, socks and underwear. That's all I need. But I wear my suit on the plane. It's not that far of a flight, so whatever. And so we get to dinner, and it was a bunch of the guys, and I'm sitting there with Alec Martinez, and he was in the same position as me. He kind of knew that he was going to get moved, and so we were like sitting there. I just ordered. I think I ate my salad, and my steak had just got there. My phone was kind of we were sitting at the bar top, and there was like 10 of us, maybe even more. And my phone starts ringing, and it's Rob Blake, and Marty's sitting beside me. He's like, there's no way you got traded before me. And I'm like, I'm looking, I didn't even know what to say yet.
Yeah.
And Dustin Brown was like 2 guys next to me. He goes, well, see you later, Ty. I'm like, Like, do you have any sympathy? Because his humor is just like such like a dry humor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like he's funny, whatever. And he's like, "Well, see you later, Ty." I'm like, "You jerk!" Like whatever.
Yeah. You can swear if you want, but
Yeah.
No, I was like,
Yeah.
"You got to be kidding me!"
Yeah.
And so I answered the phone, and Blakey, it was a really good conversation. And Blakey's, he's class act, and he traded me to Vancouver for sure because he knew that I knew a lot of the guys in this. The same kind of thing. I knew a bunch of the guys, and he knew it was going to be a good fit for me. And getting traded there to play with, Besser just got hurt, so I went and played in with JT Miller and Pedersen, and then obviously it was a fit right from the start, and played really well. And obviously, if it wasn't for COVID, we had a good thing going there. But it is what it is, So
yeah.
It was good.
No, there was. You had a good run there for sure. Definitely good. Like all organizations in the NHL are good at the end of the day. We all know that. It's the best league in the world. But you go to one of the best, if not maybe the best, with a rich history in the Montreal Canadiens, and you guys go on a run. Obviously, your first year, they're signing there. So how much did it, was it hard to make that decision when you got to free agency? Because that was the first time you really experienced that, right? So
yeah. You know what? It's tough and it's frustrating because obviously you're trying to set yourself up financially for the rest of your life, and the way I kind of signed all my contracts was get myself to my first year of free agency and sign a long-term deal and be in that city forever, for the rest of your career. And it was, I think, statistically the worst year to be a free agent.
Yeah. With COVID,
for the most part. Yeah. With COVID and just everything. So that was definitely frustrating, but going to Montreal, I was extremely excited. Like you said, one of the best places to be. And it was just unfortunate for the way that our season went, that the fans couldn't be in the rink, and I couldn't experience the way the Bell Center and Montreal in general normally is. So that was definitely a little disappointing, but it was so much fun. The group that we had, it was, you're going to be friends with those guys for a long time. Obviously we fell short, but nobody expecting us to
amazing run. Yeah, it was amazing.
So that's what kind of drove us to compete and just play the way that we did and battle and find ways to win games, and that's what we did. And, like I said, we came up short, but it was an incredible run, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's and Luch, what's that, Jake?
I said your efforts put Mr. Bosco there in a Montreal jersey. So
yeah,
thank you for that.
I lost the bet at work, so I had to wear a Habs jersey in front of all the crap there. So
probably had to have been devastating for you. And you're not the only one who probably had to do that.
No, exactly. Yeah, got to be a good sport about it, though, for sure.
Yeah, that's good.
We had Luch on. Luch crushed my hopes too, as Boston when he was with the Bruins, crushing the Leafs. But when you guys were down 3-1 against Toronto, what was said? But like obviously with the history they had of their playoffs, not playoff success, but is there something that was said? Like you guys have a lot of great leaders in that locker room too. So was it just game by game, or was something said? Did you guys feel something that there was a change in the series that you guys were going to win?
Honestly, I don't even really remember if anything was really said. We just kind of looked at each other. We're like, all the pressure's on them. All the pressure's been on them the whole time, realistically, right? So
it's true.
Obviously, Pricer played unbelievable the whole playoffs, but I've been fortunate to like we talked about Quickie earlier, and I played with some of the best goalies probably in the league throughout my career in my 11 years, right? I had Quickie, I had Markey, I have Markey again. Some of the things that he's doing and did in Vancouver was, I think he was making like 50 saves a night in Vancouver, and we're winning games. So, Demko and Van, he's unbelievable. And then with Pricer, the saves and the way he was playing in the playoffs was just like, it was lights out. So knowing that he was going to be there for us if there was any mistake, and just kind of gave us that calming sense of relief, in the sense that we just go out there and we play. And if we get up in games or whatever, we know that that Price is going to be there and essentially save the day for us, right? And that's what he did. And I think that's, you know, he's the main reason why we came back.
Yeah. Yeah, hell of a player too. Several years ago, I think it was around 2011, 2012, I met Shea Weber. I was working at a bar in Edmonton. He came through with his buddies just in town for a wedding, but didn't want like to be, you know, just want to be a regular guy. And I had a good conversation with him after towards the end of the night, and just a humble person. But what a great leader. You've been around a lot, but talk about the leadership skills that he has. And it was tough to see at the end of the year when that was done, and you know, it seemed emotional and whatnot, and what he's going through. But you know, trying to go, maybe comes back, maybe doesn't, but just the leader he was for you guys in that organization.
Yeah, I think so. When I signed in Montreal, I really didn't know anybody. I think I knew Gally a little bit. I knew a couple guys only from kind of playing against them.
Yeah.
So walking into that locker room, I was not scared, but I was like, this is gonna be different. Like, you know, going to Vancouver, I knew, you know, 6-7 guys very well, so like friends.
Yeah.
So I was kind of nervous, and his presence alone, you see him. First of all, he's a massive human. Like people don't really, they know he's a big guy, but they don't realize that he's a big guy. He's 0% body fat. The guy's just a machine, right?
Shredded. Yeah.
And so you see him, and you're like, damn, like, this Shea Weber, he's won everything, I think, you know, besides the Stanley Cup. And,
yeah.
So just seeing him in the locker room, whenever he said something, not that he said something all the time, but there were a couple games where or a couple stretches where we didn't win, you know, 5-6 games in a row, and he comes in and he's like, what the fuck you guys doing, boys? Like, let's go. And everyone's like, yes, you're right. Like, listen, you're right. Yeah. We need to play better.
Yeah.
So, you know, sort of thing. So just like I said, it just, his presence alone in the locker room. Obviously, I only played with him for a year, but he was around a little bit at the start of this season. Like you said, dealing with some of the stuff that he's got going on, and he's around. I know he talks to a lot of the guys in Montreal still that played with him for all those years, and he was just a great teammate and a great person as well.
Yeah, well, very well said. And we'll finish up on the Calgary Flames here. You know, the trade going to Calgary, obviously it's just, you know, pretty much just you going right to an organization that you know so much about with Sutter and so many of the other guys. They already spoke about that are there right now. But just, you know, did you know the trade was coming? Like, how did that work out? And then obviously it's just been a great fit. You're pretty much almost a point per game player since being there. You're a huge part of what they do. You're one of the best goal scorers in the league, Tyler. So just talk about that and the connection with Calgary and how much it means going to such a great organization.
Yeah. So like you said, like I know so many guys on the team, right? So I was with Luch over the bye week or whatever the All-Star week, whatever it was called this year.
Yeah.
And he's like, I wonder, maybe we're going to trade for you. And I was like, yeah, like, honestly, I haven't really talked to my agent like a whole lot. Like, I don't know what's going on. And like I had said, like, I didn't necessarily want to get traded. Like, I love being in Montreal. Right.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Obviously it was a tough year, but, they hired Marty, and Marty, obviously you guys have seen, the things that he's done with the team. He's basically, you know, did a complete 180.
Yeah.
Literally since I got traded. So obviously all the fans and all the media are saying that I was the issue, and I was, that's really nice of them to say. It's exactly what a human being needs to hear, right?
Yeah.
So but obviously it's all fun and games. But so it was the Super Bowl party. It was the Super Bowl, and you know, all the guys are together. We have the day off the next day, and a couple of the guys on the team, obviously I'm not going to name names, but they text me and they're like, hey, I think we traded for you. And I'm like, there's no way. Like, whatever. And my wife had just left, so I was by myself. And so we're at the Super Bowl party. We're having fun. And I wake up the next day, and I woke up at like 9-10 o'clock, and I'm like, we have the day off. I'm like, why am I awake right now? My wife's not here. I'm probably just going to lay in bed and sleep all day, basically, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden my phone starts ringing, and I'd fallen back asleep, and my agent is the only guy who, if he's calling, my phone rings. So I'm thinking, I didn't set an alarm, and then I look and it's my agent. I'm like, oh boy, like
What's going
this isn't good.
They weren't lying,
right?
yeah.
And so he calls me. He's like, hey, I think Calgary's pushing. I think something actually might happen within the next couple of days. And I was like, okay. Like I'm gonna look at my phone, and I'd seen, and I'm in a bunch of group chats, and obviously the one with Luch was like, it's him, his wife, my wife, and one of our best friends. And I look, and there's like 25 messages. I'm like, which isn't that uncommon because you guys know Luch, right? So Luch loves to talk, and he's always got something going on. And, I have a couple good group chats, and that's one of my favorites, obviously. But I look at it, and he goes, Ty, it's happening. And his wife is going nuts. And then my wife starts calling me, and everyone's like, Ty, like, what's going on? I'm like, I have no clue. I am still half asleep.
Yeah.
And so finally I get all the way down, and it was Kent, the GM of Montreal. And he had texted me basically right when I rolled back over to go back to sleep. He had texted to say, give a call. And that's when I was on FaceTime with my wife. And I was like, this obviously is happening, because before I even called him, that doesn't happen. Right. Oh. And I had a pretty good relationship with the new management that got brought in Montreal. And we kind of, we had multiple different conversations, and he's like, look, I'm not trying to trade you, but if there's a deal, then, you might be a guy that gets moved. So we had multiple conversations, and he kept me in the loop, and obviously that's kind of what happened. And next thing I know it, I'm doing all this media with Calgary, and everybody's calling, and I'm trying to get all I'm trying to get my life together and figure out what I'm going to be bringing to Calgary. Because like I said, I'm there by myself, and my wife, she does everything. Right. So she was calling me, telling me what to pack, and she's like, you got to clean up the apartment a little bit. And I'm like, there's like no way I'm doing all of this. My flight's in 4 hours, right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing all this media, and then finally I get to the airport. My buddy Jake Evans on the team drops me off, and obviously it was a little emotional, because I really didn't get to say bye to anybody on the team, because it was the day off, right? So I went in, grabbed my hockey bag, said bye to the trainers. I had a good talk with Marty before I left, and next thing I knew it, I was in Calgary, and I was sleeping over at Luch's place, and he's cooking me a New York strip at 12:30 at night, and I think I played the next night. It was nuts.
And you scored too. So
no, it was definitely crazy, and like I said, I didn't necessarily know that I was going to be getting moved, but going to Calgary and being familiar with so many guys, and coming back to playing with Daryl, who I've said this ever since he wasn't my coach, that he is probably the best coach, and he knows everything he does. He knows it has a purpose. So obviously things have been working out well so far, and hopefully we can just keep playing well, and I can stay in the good books here, and just keep winning, right?
Do good. The one great thing, like most organizations, but one thing I love about Brad is he's very loyal. He's very loyal to the group, and obviously, you played with Sean Monahan in junior, and you're back on the line with him now, and I think that helps him out too, and giving you guys more balance throughout the lineup. And you guys just got Yarncrot from Seattle, and obviously he's got Lindholm's his cousin, and he trains with Markstrom and them in the summertime too. So it just
trains party.
Trains party.
There's a big difference there. You can do both.
You can do both. Yeah. So and we had Brent Sutter on our podcast before, and just the Sutter family in general are great. And I think Daryl's one of the best. He's a quote machine. You guys played Colorado the other night, and his quote after,
it's pretty good.
It was pretty funny. But it's great. Just the last question. What do you think, in your opinion, and what you see in being with the Flames right now? What do you think? What's so good about them? is just the great structure you guys have. But what do you think is so good about that organization and the team you guys have for a good playoff run that you guys are hopefully to have here?
Yeah, I think the expectations for everybody are everybody's held accountable and everybody has to play the same way, right? So, realistically, if you look at the way we play, it's 4 lines and everybody's playing. Certain guys get more minutes than others because penalty kill and power play, but for the most part, I think 5-on-5 is relatively the same. And obviously, you have a guy like Johnny who's what, 3rd or 4th in the league in points, and you look at our game yesterday, I think he played 14 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You look at other guys, they're playing as forwards, they're playing 22 minutes a night. So everybody's held accountable. We roll 4 lines, and I think that's kind of what makes us so successful, is because every time you're going out on the ice, you're fresh and you're ready to go, and you have to compete, and that's what's expected. And if not, then that's when you get in trouble and then you sit on the bench for a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it seemed to work for sure in Montreal, and being an Edmonton fan, you see that a lot more up here now, where they're trying to balance it out. I love to hear that everybody's even minutes, and go out there, put your work in for your minutes, right?
Yeah,
let's just screw up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's it, and that's how it is, and that's like I said, I think that's kind of why we've been so successful so far for the short time that I've been here. And you get excited. You want to come to the rink and you want to work, and what's expected every single day, and at every shift, realistically.
Yeah, well, that's good, man. You guys are getting your flowers.
I know you might have cleared a debate there with Vandy and Clay and them, because you talked about how important playing in front of a goalie that makes those saves, and understanding who's back there and really pumping the team up. And that might have cleared up a few things with Clay and Vandy. Like it really does drive the team, right? So
these other guys are a co-host, is what he's talking.
Yeah, we have the same chat going.
Yeah, the same chat.
We had some debates, and it's it makes a big difference when you fight out there for each other, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, just I think at the end of the day, knowing that everybody's different, but for me, knowing that we have Marky back there, and he makes the big saves, and it's not like he's always making like these crazy saves, but he's calm, he's steady in net, and it's just the way it is. And obviously we have the way we play, we kind of keep it tight in the D zone and don't really give up a whole lot, so that helps at the same time too. So it goes both ways, and it's the same things expected of Marky. He's back there to make the saves, and he knows that as well. So if you were to talk to him, he would he would credit the D and obviously the forwards too, but he would credit us with helping him and keeping things as easy as possible for him.
Yeah, nine leads the league with 9 shutouts, man. It's he definitely deserves the credit, and talking that hockey term, getting your flowers, getting your recognition. It's pretty sweet. So we'll finish up on that. We thank you so much for joining us, Tyler. This means a lot to us. It's taking the time out of your schedule to join us and talk about your career and all that continued success going on here. It's going to be pretty sweet to experience that Red Mile feel in Calgary, man, in the playoffs. It's quite
definitely excited for you. You can feel it kind of brewing, especially now with the weather getting nicer and the patios starting to open up. You can tell. They
have some nice golf courses there too. So
I've heard.
Yeah. Close to the mountains.
Any golfing anytime soon, though. Right?
No, that's what I said to Bosco there. I said, I better, now's not a good time of year to talk about it. But I know I got a few family members that are huge Calgary Flame fans, and they're excited to see you play. And they just love the impact you made on the team. And unfortunately for me being an Oilers fan, now I got to hear about it.
Yeah. That's a good thing though. So
no, it's great. It's great.
Thanks again for joining us and continued success. So
all right. I appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.